All right, so here it is. It's all soft and bubbling, and it smells amazing. That garlic in there always smells good. So it's ready now for the broccoli. So I will put the broccoli in, and then put the chicken broth in after that. Now if you want to make chicken broth out of bouillon, or if you've made your own chicken broth, you can use that. Made it with a chicken carcass if you buy whole chickens. Then you can use that. Each can is 14 to 14.5 ounces, and that way you can use your homemade stuff. And these cans were on sale, that's why I went to get them, but it's a lot cheaper if you make your own. And a good way to have some vegetables in your broths is to take all the extras, like when I was cutting up this broccoli, have a couple like these end pieces that are just the pieces that you don't necessarily want in your soups and stuff, and just put them in a plastic bag, stick them in the freezer, and then when you're ready to make your broths, you can pull them out and use them in your broths. Another thing that's really good is carrots or potatoes. If you're making something and have just a little bit left over, you can just stick it in a bag and use it for your broths. It's a great way to use a little bit leftover vegetables that you didn't do. Now, with these cans, they are 99% fat-free because I try to keep it healthy as I can. And what I do, instead of poking holes, some people have those little things that poke holes. I take it and I cut the edge with the can opener on two sides so the air goes in one side and out the other, and then the stuff can pour out easier and faster. So you just pour these in here. Now I'm going to make a small alteration to the recipe. I'm going to be putting 3 of them in first, see how that goes, and then if I need the 4th one right now to cover the broccoli, I will. But if not, I'm going to save it for after when I put the cheese and stuff in. Hey, baby. So it looks good. I'm going to, there it is. Oops. Okay, so 3 cans are in there. Just gonna let this heat up and simmer for a little while. I think the recipe said about 10 minutes, and then once the broccoli's tender, then we'll start adding the cheese to it so that it melts. And make sure your cheese is cubed or shredded so that it melts faster and easier, and you'll be able to do it. Alright, so here it is, all cooked up and ready to go. Put that back here. Now, the next thing you're going to do is put in your cheese. Now, the piece of block that I had, I cut up like this into little pieces, and then that then goes in here and melts. You do not need to add water to this or anything to get it to melt because the chicken broth is in there. Now I'm going to put it in slowly, just one little piece at a time, and keep stirring it as you do this. Put a couple in and then start stirring. And then you're going to be putting your milk in as well. Now this combination is what will make the cheese sauce, and it's going to have a little bit of flavor other than just cheese because of the chicken broth in there. So there it is. And I'm going to go ahead and do all this step because it does take a little while for the cheese to melt and to become a soupy like cheese, so cheese broth type thing. so I will get it all done and then I'll turn it back. Here's the soup. I'm just waiting for the last of this cheese to melt completely. You can see there's a lot of it on the spoon. I'll probably take a fork and scrape that all off so that it gets into the soup. And it's also on the side, so you want to make sure that you scrape it off. But it feels really thick, kind of hard to stir because of all the cheese in there. Now when this cheese is all the way melted like that, you want to take your milk. Now, remember, it can be whatever milk you'd like. Pour it on in there. Alright, and then stir that up. And now you'll see with this milk that it's starting to actually look like broccoli cheese soup. How exciting, huh? So, you just keep stirring this and scraping the sides and scrape off your spoon if you have it all on there, and then it has to cook for just a little bit longer. And then you'll be adding the cornstarch, which will thicken it up, mixed with the last can of broth and a little bit of water. And this will bring it to a pretty good sized thing of soup. See, if you can see my pot, it's pretty big. And this is about halfway up right now, so it's going to be a pretty big size. So if your family maybe doesn't eat this much in one sitting, won't eat the leftovers as much, you can take this and you can freeze it and have half of it now, half of it later, or a fourth of it now, or whatever. Or you can just make half of the recipe. This does make quite a bit. And I probably will freeze half of ours for later because we just don't eat this much. And we have a leftover night, but we don't need quite this much leftovers either. So I will probably freeze it and keep it for next time. And we'll just let this cook for a little bit, and then we'll add the last little bit of it. Okay, so here's my chicken broth, and I can't put any more water in there quite yet, but as you can see here, get it up. There's the chicken, or the cornstarch, and it gets really thick like glue. So what you want to do is you want to stir it up in here so it gets throughout this as much as possible. Now if you have a bigger container, that's better, but I neglected to put it in a bigger one, so for you guys, make sure you put it in a bigger one. And you just want to keep stirring it up until it's totally stirred, and then you're going to add it into your soup. Here's my soup. Can't wait for this. And then you just let it cook until it thickens. So I will show you the soup at the end, what it turns out like. Now if you use whole milk or if you use half and half, it will come out to be a thicker, creamier soup. It's up to you and how you want to make it and what your preference is. So I will show you mine at the end. Yours may be a little thicker if you do that. All right, here is the finished soup. Now I'm gonna let this thicken just a little bit more, but as you can see, it comes out pretty thick here. So I'm just gonna let it cook and thicken up a little bit. This is just a minute or so after putting all that stuff in there, and it just looks so good. I can't wait to eat it. So there's the finished product. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it, and I hope that you'll join us over the next few weeks in a season of cooking and share your seasonal recipes with all of us so that we can each have a really big stock of recipes to build our menu plans around. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch this and to being a reader of my blog. I really enjoy doing it and sharing this stuff with you. So thank you for that, and we'll see you next time.